had big moments, they've both had tough moments. And on Cafe, it's going to be a real throwdown between these two, and I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I think that's the thing is, we've had an interesting day. We've had an interesting slew of results today. And this is the one out of all of them I was the most unsure of in my predictions. I think there's been a couple of close games, but here, it's very tricky to put together.
I think it's got us split as well in the predictions. We've gone, I think, 3-3 maybe, if that is the 6 of us total. It's very, very even. It's late. We've done a lot of casting. We're doing our best, and you stick with us. LFO versus Rogue, getting underway. Ying and Thatcher, so that Ying ban coming in. Interesting one.
Yeah, it's not the most commonly seen removal. It's a sort of fair play against a team that can strike quickly with it. It's a good gun. It's a good gadget in the right hands, a gadget that's about to go through a little bit of a change as well, if you've read the patch notes. And to be honest, that change, I think, is more significant in sort of comp because it gives you something else to burn things with.
Going to have Maestro coming in as that final ban, and we will get things underway with Rogue going to be on the defense to kick us off, and it's going to be attack for LFO. Now, that might not actually bode too well for LFO. Sorry, for Rogue. LFO, we've seen be able to really use aggression well on their attack. Get in there quickly. Helby joked that it was the 20-second meta again, except this time it was the first 20 seconds rather than the last.
Of the game.
You know, and that really does sort of sum up the way LFO played a few of their first games, and particularly rounds on Chalet, I can remember specifically. So being on the defensive Rogue might not be ideal.
I think it's the start as well. Cafe can be a good battle space for Rogue. It's a map that they've done well on, and obviously they've taken a recent victory on it. They've been able to take some points on it before. LFO are no strangers to the plays that can be done here, and I think one of the things that I like about Dostoevsky is it offers good tactically minded teams good inroads. It's why, when we sort of saw the strength of LATAM, some of their plays and approaches here were unbelievable. It was breathtaking. In the SI, not the most recent one, but the year previously past, the plays that they would sort of operate here on this map were different to pretty much everyone else's. It gives you room for growth for tactically minded teams.
It does. Reading is going to be our first site. Then Rogue going to be trying to hold on to the mid-floor site, and I would imagine LFO are going to be moving in quickly to the top floor. Is this something that Rogue can punish, though? If they expect the aggression, they can lean into it a little bit, and they can maybe just play a little sort of meet fire with fire and see if they can outgun them in the early rounds. We haven't had anything over the top from LFO. Bibu is waiting here. He knows it's coming, and look at that! Absolutely beautiful from Bibu as he takes down Leon, as Rogue tried to do exactly what I suggested, and that was meet aggression with aggression. Mowgli able to then double down, finds himself the kill onto Kanto, and that should be a lot of top floor control for LFO gained very, very quickly.
Well, now, Rips, what can you do here on the backside of Pillars? We have already seen that they have a good bout of awareness here on the plays that Rogue might be putting down. Mowgli is putting a huge bout of pressure in, and he's one that you need to see sort of come into a swing. Deepak has his own idea, knocks him out of the park, and at least stems some of the blood as Kanto got caught up in the mix of things, and it's a bit of a bite back, an instant response. Cryan is going for the creep up on the opposite stair set to see if he can try and put some of the pressure back in. He's concerned. There's a bit of watch going down, and when they have the man advantage, it's something that they can do, sort of dedicate a player to just be a concern on that sort of play.
Rise has got himself established inside a cigar. He's looking over towards Cryan inside of the Maestro spot, and Cryan's keeping himself alive on this top floor, and if they're not aware of him, he could well cause to be a problem here. It's only 3 versus 4, so Rogue not facing a huge deficit, and 1 kill from Cryan could be absolutely massive. There's one of Rogue just waiting on those white stairs for a potential flank as well. Deepak's going to be the one inside a site looking to hold down, and that's it. Shinka spots out Cryan. They know that he's there. Deepak forced wide by the nade, but he's going to be able to potentially play back with a nitro here. Second nade comes in, takes the challenge onto the door, can't get his man, and things are going to get a bit more difficult inside the site, but Cryin is still able to hold on to that top floor. If he can keep that vertical, this could be seriously dangerous for LFO.
Rips, he's trying to get a little bit of safety, but he can't quite find it anywhere. Cryin watching on the door. There is a player around on Cigar, but they have that ability to leave somebody up there. Rise does the pressure in, Rips bites back, stops the hop over. There's Cryin getting that strike from above. BB's got to act now, but Cryan's able to slink away. Shinka is going to take this time to get that kit down. Post-plant situation, and just another take of either of them. I was about to say the head got torn off by one, but Rogue, they gave them space, and then they took it back.
I think LFO have just learnt a lesson there about leaving Cryin or anybody inside a cocktail. It was as if they were aware, but were holding the angle sort of more onto the balcony, waiting for him to push forward, but he doesn't need to push forward. He's got his vertical hole. He can watch exactly what he wants to watch, and that is what he did, and he was able to find the kill as the man tried to push in. It was well played from Cryin and Rips at the end there to close that out. Beautiful little retake as the diffuser was secured, but LFO just never really in top floor control. Cryin allowed to play there for the entire round, and they can't do that. I don't know what the drone situation was exactly, but if they can't drone that out, they've got to send a man in there. You've got to put somebody in cocktail to be sure that there's nobody playing above.
That's it. It has to be that quick response. You have to make sure you can do it, and Cryin made entirely the right decision there. Got a kill and then pulled back. He is so much more valuable alive, and he's at least going to draw some focus. Sure, Shinka then found that pocket of space and went for the plant, and without that verticality, he might have been able to stop that, but at that point, then he's going to lose the fight to Bibu, or he's got to at least take the fight, and that's a risk, that's a trade, and you might not want that to go against you, because then the round might entirely be lost. Rogue, they're able to take that first, and they're going to go for a bit of a stretch now and see if they can head up to the top floor.
Castle barricades going on the white window, pretty standard. We've got one on the piano window as well, I would imagine on double door. The fourth, who knows?
It's too many.
We'll find it as we go, I'm sure. Double door, I was right, and two of the windows, and it's the other window. They've got both piano windows, not a problem. So that's going to try and help them hold on to Cigar. We've not had players maybe committing quite as much to Cigar recently. We used to have this setup and you'd have somebody on the smoke playing behind the shield inside Cigar literally until they were moved. But we haven't seen them try to hold on to it quite as hard. So they're just trying to basically burn as much time in utility as they can to prevent teams getting themselves established inside of Piano and Cigar. And also, if you do get somebody in Piano, say from the rappel, you get somebody in Cigar, if you haven't dealt with that castle in the middle, there's a disconnect between the two and they can't play off each other. So it's, you know, again, just burning utility and time to ensure that that's dealt with. And that's going to fail.
Ooh, the second is a success, but hey, what's that? Oh yeah, 2 kills that have now come through, including the Ash, and Mowgli is gone once again. Rise bites back, takes care of Leon. The mute is off the board, and that takes a little bit of utility out of the pockets, but still, losing the Ash and losing the Finker so early on, you've got at least some of that utility already used before they died to get rid of that castle window. Cryin is still playing in that position, though. He's still going to be causing problems. They now have the body advantage, and it's a huge rotate coming out here from Rise.
It is a huge rotate, going to burn up a lot of time, but I don't think that'll be too much of an issue for LFO. They've got stacks of it left on the clock with half of the round yet to go. IQ of P4 pushing in. Not sure he's aware of Cryin just playing on the stage, and Cryin once again just keeping himself off the radar. We saw it last time around, and if he is free to move onto the flank here later in the round, he's going to be absolutely devastating. Deepak just dropping a little bit deeper away from Pixel Spot. Comes back for a little peek, but I think that's more just to take attention away from Cryin, and if it is, that is smart play. He's dropped himself all the way back to white, successfully manages to move around. P4 gets ripped, but is traded out, and there is the play. I kept banging on about it, but for good reason. They didn't drone out Cryin, and he has hurt them again. Our analyst picked up on him on the pre-desk, and he is looking electric so far tonight.
I mean, that's it. It just plays so perfectly into what he likes to do. And he knew the response as well. He knew as soon as he got the first, the sort of gamble is to see if you can try and lock in the second, but you expect a response of fire. And he just had that little bit of extra sharpness. He drove it home. Rise Well, he drops it, and you can see the energy's coming through here. Crying. I like that, because obviously they fist bump towards the camera. We've seen many cameras destroyed, but Cryan's camera's too far away from him now, so he just sort of holds up like a powerful fist, like he's scored a goal. I
mean, I like it because he could be an actual superhero.
He could be a superhero.
Couldn't he? If anybody in the Siege scene was going to be a superhero, I think Cryan could be the one. And he's definitely got the pause down. He's definitely got the, as you say, the power pause towards the camera there, and it's really doing something for Rogue at the minute. It's injecting a little bit of ferocity into them. He's 6-0 right now.
It's a pretty good opening.
It's not bad.
I mean,
as far as first 2 rounds go, it's not bad.
And I think that's the thing here as well from the side of LFO. They've been able to cobble together a few kills across the board. They're able to do some damage, and it was a 2 versus 2 post plant that they lost in the opening round. That is close. That just takes Bibu to be, you know, half a second earlier, and he probably would have got the kill onto Cryan after Cryan got the vertical kill there. It's, you know, a mistake that has cost them, and Cryan has got confidence, and that's going to be something LFO have to respond to.
It is. In we go to round number 3, down to Kitchen. It's going to be Rogue to try and complete the defensive sweep, and right now you wouldn't put any money against them because LFO have struggled to get themselves into this one in any real meaningful way so far. It's not been particularly close. They've allowed Cryan to run rampant so far, just not closing him down. Hopefully they're going to learn the lesson there and make sure that they are using those drones effectively, but already down to 6 drones. Of course, Twitch will have some additional ones. She only gets 1 regular one, but still not ideal.
No, and that's the sort of problem right now because that loose player is, well, sinking ships. They have themselves a lot of attention paid towards this corner player in VIP. It's an important part to get a hold of. And Cryan just swings on.
He does what he wants.
And he escapes and rips off of some support Deepex there. It's suddenly a 5 versus 2 because LFO went, we're going to get you. And then Cryan went, bye. And then the rest of Rogue went, hi. From several different locations, we had pitter-patter of feet and the pitter-patter of dropping bullet shells on the floor.
Honestly, that teamwork was beautiful from Rogue there, and again, I can't help but wonder if it's just a little bit of a lack of information from LFO there, not being aware that, you know, yeah, we're going to chase in and we're going to try and get this trade. Your trades are important, but you can't just throw yourself into the blender to get them, and that's exactly what they did. It's almost as if they weren't aware of all those challenges that were going to come forward, and being that it's nice and early in the round, there is the potential that they weren't. P4 just creeping along now, trying to get a view into VIP. Playing a little merry dance with the man in there, and Deepex steps out with a shotgun. Flawless round as Leon finishes us off, and Rogue, they're cruising, and it feels like every game so far tonight has started this way.
Bartosz, prepare the backwards James. You can't see or hear, thankfully. It's important that those old heads of the game, the ones that have been around the block, can sort of drive home that confidence. It is such a powerful voice, and it's such an important voice as well in a team to be able to have somebody to just make sure that when 3 rounds run away from you in such a fashion that you can get your heads back on and you don't let it sort of get to you. Everybody needs that, and we've seen it be hyper successful in the game just before with Eminem, and for LFO you're looking to see if it can be now.
Moving into round number 4. Sorry, there was a little bit of confusion in my head there. My pen stopped working. So
oh, that would confuse me.
It would, you know, I'll worry about that in a minute. That's not a problem. We can deal with that. Bibu looking to just be careful towards those windows. We've already seen the success that he's had. Round 1, Leon wanted to try and get out of there. It didn't stop Rogue winning, though, even though the jump out was failed. I'm sure Leon's ambition to go out of that window is going to have been tempered by that, and he's going to keep himself underneath with the pulse scanner, looking for those heartbeats, trying to see if he can find a flutter of movement to feed information back into his team.
Well, that's it. He's looking for the read, and he's got that player just sat there, but you kind of expect them to be sat there anyway. They're waiting for the approach. There's pings in the reveal of the drone of the players that are playing around pillars. Rips, he was in a bit of a danger spot here before, and you can see LFO are paying a little bit more attention towards this side, and they're going to see if they can cut off some of those rotations, cut them off at the pass before things become a little bit dangerous. Who's going to have the first engagement? For the first time from Rogue, it's a little bit tougher to tell.
P4 on that reading door, looking to possibly peek around and have a look towards pillars, but he needs to be careful because Rips is aware. Drone is going to spot Rips, and that's going to prevent the head-to-head coming in. Rips could get himself another drone, but doesn't quite see it in time. Yes, he does! That's going to be 2 down, and again, Rogue coming out on top of this information game.
That drone there parked just round a corner as Rips went, and obviously if he's missed it, they might think he's just going for an escape, but it gives you an opportunity. You talked about the drone economy before, and here, once again, they're losing so much of that drone game. So much of that intel is sort of thrown to the wind, and it puts them in a pretty tricky situation on a map that can be as intricate and as sort of corner-hidey as this. A bit of presence inside mining. They're going to try and swing their way around from that towards dining potentially this time instead of the control of pillars, but Leon's still underneath, and there's a lot more danger of the soft floor here for him to play with.
That's it. There's certainly an opportunity for him to potentially put that nitro to use. It died with him last time around, but this time he's kept himself into the round much better. But P4 manages to open things up onto Rips, and LFO are certainly doing better in this round already than they have last time. They're now the ones catching Rogue unawares. Mowgli with a kill there. Kantor trades it out, but 2 more come in. P4 and Rise getting in on the action. Closed out by Shinka. Plenty for everybody on the side of LFO to go at there. They take themselves their first round, and could this be another one of those...
Don't you start.
Could this be another one of those super effective tactical timeouts?
I mean, we've pretty much seen every facet of a comeback today. Every
which way it can look.
Literally every single style of comeback. We haven't seen an OT yet.
Thank you.
I touched wood.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I touched wood afterwards.
You cast in with me, it doesn't matter.
Well, the thing is, you haven't had...
I've, to be fair, Des and I seem to have shaken the curse a little bit.
You have.
Certainly within the regular season. We still had them at the last event at SI, but yeah, we really haven't had very many. I think we've maybe had 1.
There hasn't...
There's been very few in general.
There's been very few. Yeah. We're seemingly in a state right now where... For all the OTs that we had before, we haven't really had too many. We've had a lot of upsets, we've had a lot of comebacks, but we haven't had many.
We're thinking of drafting Fresh back onto a team so we can get some more draws. just to up the entertainment and get us some overtimes. Fresh is sat there, bless him, thinking, what did I do?
Well,
what did I do? Why have I been attacked?
Yeah, we're casters. We're here to just swing wildly at anyone whilst we have active mics. Apart from Milosh, because he scares me.
He's in charge.
He's in charge.
Running the desk.
Yeah.
You know, you can't risk that. You got to be kind to your horse.
Anyone who looks like they could own a smoking lounge, like with all the books, and like, I'd be like, we'll talk about this in the lounge. That's scary energy.
Scary energy coming in from LFO back in round 4 as they manage to get themselves around on the board and in quick fashion as well, finding lots of kills and not many deaths. Much better for them. Rotero going in and just opening up the bar there, looking to offer a little bit of a better line of sight onto that rotation. Leon, however, finding the opener with the Nitro onto Rise, but shut down by Mowgli in return very, very quickly. Crying could make a nuisance of himself once again. He's playing underneath on the Jaeger, taking out a drone and just doing what Crying does best so far, scampering away, keeping himself alive and continuing the fight.
It was an important little moment there as well. He heard the drone and he knew that was being set up to stop what he wants to do later on. And now LFO, they either have to use a second one on an already struggling drone economy that we've talked about them having before, or it might stay a little bit unchecked, and an unchecked corner is one that he can often strike with. They've proven he's mortal. They dropped him on the previous round and he hadn't even gotten a kill, so they can put some of this damage in, and it's a bit of the cost now. Rise is gone. But it's an experienced voice that's going to be behind them, watching the cams, giving some clarity, and hopefully being a bit of a drive for the young gunners to get some of that shape the way they had it on the previous round.
3 out of 4 from Rogue can be found on the top floor, but there is still 1 out and about unaccounted for, and I would imagine that it's Crying, and it's something that LFO are going to have to be aware of because he's going to be primed and ready for a flank given the opportunity currently in reading, if my eyes don't deceive me off the quick flash of the screen that we had there for him. He is indeed going to be down by a reading door, and he is just looking to keep himself off the radar at the minute, but he's not going to manage it because he's being pinged out. So now LFO are aware of him, and it's quite rightly heading himself back up White Stairs. I was going to say it's very difficult to flank on this map when teams know, because there's only 2 staircases to hold down.
You have to be clever in that position. You have to know when to show your cards and when to hold them, and he's definitely holding them for now. The fight is Kanto, but Kanto's caught out by Mowgli, pulls himself back up. The Fink has suffered a bit, and Shinka has also suffered on the split, but they've got the kit. There's Cryan now with a bit of a wider angle. Deepek's offering some support here as Mowgli's found himself right behind the bar, and he's going for the slow creeper crops. Rips, tears the head off of one. Bibu has that back line, and Deepek has a bit of revenge. The double swing round and the 2 versus 2. They've still got the kit, but they don't quite have it down yet. P4 is going to have to go for a swing on the far balcony. The reveal of intel's there, but they kind of knew. And do they know that that's being watched? A quick change. They can't quite get the connection. Look at the timer, though. A couple of seconds. Oh, it's P4 with what was a technical 1 versus 1, and he just takes it out for the 2nd LFO round in a row.
Shinka with a huge kill there. 2v2. You've got P4 working across. Maybe he gets both of them, but the one inside a bar back storage that Shinka manages to hit before starting to put that diffuser down really swings things in their favour. And then P4, he finds his last man nice and framed in that rotation. His head bang there in the centre, and it's an easy shot for him to pick up. And what a performance from LFO. That's a tactical timeout and then 2 rounds won him. We could be heading for another 3-0 to 3-3 half.
We could be. I mean, we could be heading for a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things. It's definitely better from LFO. The opening 3 attacks, I think they were making huge mistakes. There's no sort of 2 ways about it. It was mistakes that I know they alluded to on the desk that they started making on border, where they weren't really attacking in the creative way they've done. Here, they've definitely stepped up. They're still stepping up. There's still the potential for more, but it's obviously more than enough right now. They've been able to get 2 rounds in a row. Can they make it a 3-for-3 split and really turn the force of this game back into their favor?
Going to be down into Kitchen that Rogue go for their final defence, and they're really going to want to lock this down. As you say, they don't want LFO to be able to get that favour. They need to take themselves an advantage, otherwise Rogue are going to feel a little bit hard done to them. LFO carry a lot of momentum if that's the case. They're going to be getting themselves straight into the building line, nice and careful about any potential peaks, but there's not going to be any coming out of Rogue. They don't want to be silly at this point. They don't want to throw away that momentum that they've got and give an easy early pick over to Rogue. Over to LFO, so they're going to keep themselves away from them. It's looking like a bakery push coming in from LFO, particularly getting aggressive on towards this side of the map.
Now, the Twitch drone. Going to see if it can find the claw on the side, at least gets the ADS, and that's probably just as important. There's a bit of pressure that's coming through onto Pantry. The C4 out the door isn't going to get anything apart from a down on Mowgli, but the Fink gets them right back up. It's a bit of a scrappy spray, but the wall being popped behind Kanto, or at least the pressure that's coming through, does that. 2 grenades popped to life either side, and if Kanto can escape this, that would be... yeah, and pretty much impossible. Bibu has the lockdown, has the control, has the space inside, and they've got an opening now towards the site as well.
It's difficult for Kanto in that sort of position because really you are there to play your life. You hope that they will last longer inside a bakery, but it was well played by LFO to up the pressure on him there, so it's not really his fault. Leon was on the red stairs, but I think has moved away after being droned, so he's going to try to play the vertical instead. Cryan is up there as well, opening up some angles on the Malusi, and that's something that LFO might need to deal with because, as you can see, once again, Cryan has got the cover onto that plant spot, and what did we see him do previously? When not cleared out above, he dominated the end of the round.
Rise now with a little bit of extra width. He's looking towards that back line, takes care of an Echo drone, important part of utility to remove from the board. The eye's still on the backside, but otherwise it's more just the drone, keeping a keen eye on that player behind the brown bar. Is Rips entirely safe here? Does he know he's being watched? LFO, no, they have a man advantage. They could, if they wanted to, see if they could try and risk a little bit of the danger to see if they can get a little bit of the reward. But otherwise, they're happy to just watch the flank and rotation and still focus towards getting the kit down inside what they've already opened.
P4 going to look towards court check, but there's nobody inside of there at the minute. We've got Mowgli moving on into sight, and the challenges are going to start coming thick and fast from LFO now as they're looking to get aggressive. Can he find his man? Yes, shuts down Leon. Deepek in an immediate trade, though, keeping things not level, but at least close for Rogue. 1 down, however. Rise finds Deepek, and that's going to give Shinka the opportunity to put the diffuser down. LFO looking to stick this, and almost certainly to take this round and close things out 3-3 on the half. P4 knows the man's coming bar here. He's already already seen him. It's going to be an easy one. He just needs to bide his time. He just needs to wait for the push. There's a spray in his direction, and the man just gets away out of dodge there. It was looking like a difficult situation for him. Crying on the fight back manages to find Rise, but with 20 seconds left to go, to be able to do something about this diffuser that's down on the ground, it's not going to be easy. And Rips, he's just fighting for his life at the minute.
Well, they've crept their way in, and he's asking for a bit of cover, but they know they need to drop one more body, and there's a fight that goes away from them. A risk and a gamble, and now an isolated Cryan's caught out. LFO! 0-3 to 3-3. We've seen this tale just one map before. A very important
And
round.
the map before.
And the map before.
And the map before.
And the map before. Maybe that's our curse, is every game we cast is a comeback.
We've seen a lot of them tonight, and I mean, it's good entertainment value. We'll take that.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this one plays out now. Rogue get themselves onto the attack. Probably going to see a slightly different approach. We haven't necessarily seen Rogue with the same sort of aggression, ferocity as LFO, but LFO played with a little bit less of it. They played with a bit more temper there. You know, able to just pick the defences apart a little bit in those last 3 rounds and sort of remove pieces one at a time, move in, get the diffuser down. It was a little bit more sort of slow and steady from LFO, and I think that's what they needed after the first 3 rounds, and it worked well for them. So first defensive round for LFO is going to be up on the top floor. It's going to be Bar and Cocktail for us in round 7.
There's only been one game tonight where somebody hasn't got the first at least 3 rounds, and that was the opening one, Outsiders versus Secret, where it was 1 to 1 to 2. So you know, it's been a little bit of a day. I guess we'll see if the second half curse is one that favors a bit more of a back and forth fight, or we start to see LFO really ramp up the trouble here. Rogue, they've got to see if they can try and surmount something of an attack. They have the Ossa, they have a lot of chance of being able to remove some utility. It's a very much attack-minded push towards the top plant here. They've got a couple of the grenades and a couple of smokes as well, which could give them a really good bout of drive.
Straight up to the rooftop they go then, no surprises there. Rogue just looking to start things from up above. Kanto being very cautious about the potential for a Nitro. We've seen more and more success as well coming in with those Nitros thrown from underneath the hatches, either as the sledge approaches them or just after they're opened, and he's just being careful to make sure they don't get caught out, and they will not, as LFO not playing quite so aggressively. The opening of the hatch does allow Deepeka on the Nomad to start air jabbing off that staircase. Something that they tried to do was use those red stairs for the flank. We saw Crying up and down there, so Rogue just sort of taking a leaf out of their own strategy book and saying, right, we're going to avoid that happening to us.
Okay, Rogue, what else can you piece together here? You've been able to structure a couple of rounds, and as I said before, the importance of experienced players being able to shake off things going wrong. Rogue is definitely well versed in that, because they've had things go well wronger than most other teams have ever suffered an entire thing in a single split. He's a bit of a push. Leon breaks his way through. They're seeing if they can get the control of Cigar, and the reveal of that Valkyrie camera isn't quite caught. Just above the door, and it's giving you some of that internal info and isn't quite seen yet. And where's that read coming from?
Leon's got himself inside of the shop. Kanto has joined him, and Kanto is going to leave him as Mowgli finds the opening kill. Rise manages to get Leon as well, and this is falling apart for Rogue.
That Valk cam on that little exit sign above the door. You put it on light services, so it's a little bit tougher to see, and they have not seen it. It is a very clever play, but it has, for my money, just netted them those 2 kills. Look at this.
And it keeps going.
I mean, credit to the Observer for picking all this up, but they are observing everything Rogue is doing.
The gift that keeps on giving, then, that Valkyrie camera. Crying just trying to put some nades into barback storage, but the first one clipping a little bit of debris and bouncing back, so that's going to be a waste of utility. Damage coming in now. I don't think Crying's quite aware where that was from. I think it was shots from Mowgli. He's aware of the rappel in, but somehow Deepek manages to do that. Nice and dynamic getting the kill there, taking some damage, but Rip's shut down, and P4, he just cleans house with a 3K at the end.
There it was. P4.
Surely not again.
Into this game, it's sort of some of that we missed on your previous showing at the start of the week. What else can you do with it? It's going to be the stretch of these next 2 sites, the ones that aren't quite that top, that first pick, regardless of the fact that Bar for other teams isn't a preference. For you, it was, and you sort of showed why. Here, Is there a slightly different idea? No. Valkyrie Cam, none of those sneaky plays before, but it's one where you're kind of expecting a different approach. Are they going to castle this or just go for the fight?
Going for the jump out here, Rise straight out of the window, but it's actually Bibu that manages to get the double kill, taking down Rips and Crying. Kanto shuts down Rise, who was on the distraction, really, and it is all the damage done by Bibu. What a play from LFO to start us off here, and there's that aggression that they've shown us previously.
Opponents take attack timeout. How do you instantly undo a lot of that work? A double run out, getting a double kill, causing a lot of devastation. They've lost Cry, the man who was the huge start on those opening 3 rounds. They've lost Rips, which is a big backline of your support, especially with the Flores drones. A couple of grenades gone. You at least still have some others left, but oh, it hurts.
And that sting is going to be one that they continue feeling throughout this round. Taking Rise down was at least a positive in all of that, if you can find one. And it leaves them now in a 4 versus 3 advantage. LFO. Kanto just working his way down the stairs there. Leon actually able to level things up with a kill onto P4. And Rogue not getting themselves into some bad positions here. They're able to start challenging on that mid-level, sort of head-to-head horizontal challenges. And if they can find another kill, then this is a big swing. Bibu's on white stairs looking to pounce given the opportunity, but right now LFO have been beaten back a little bit.
It's Leon. He's dug himself into a good position there on the swing onto Reading. Bibu is forced back up to the top floor. They have cams and some ideas and they have some rotations, but Rogue, they just need to make sure they don't suddenly suffer another strike. This grenade, it rolls out just in time for him to not suffer the fight back. Pops one of those hot pockets, and Goyo is left to watch it burn. Mowgli gets in another confrontation. The burn of the flash just around the corner. Leon wants to keep pushing. He's going to go in close, and he takes one. Can't, and he does! It looked like he just missed the trick there, but a very quick adjustment, and suddenly it's a 2 versus 1. Trying to stick behind the hefty machinery, which gives you a lot of support. And Deepek's watching it, and there is that energy in the top right corner. And you can see a little bit of a smile, a great response. How do you respond to your opponent's timeout? You get a double kill run out. How do you respond to that? You win the round.
Rogue playing well on the attack there. Leon able to get them over the edge. And I think LFO probably kicking themselves a little bit there. It did feel like they had the round in hand. They were on their way to getting the win, but then it was just one of those big individual moments that we know Leon Gids is capable of, and he delivered it at the perfect time for Rogue, leaving us now 4-4, all tied up, and this one's set to potentially go the distance. We knew that it was going to be a close matchup. It had us all split on the predictions. Nobody really knew which way this was going to play out, and after 4 rounds in a row for LFO, you started to worry about Rogue, but they've been able to put the brakes on and they've taken that train off the tracks.
They're just bearing down the last couple of shots to find that second head. You could see the adjustment. Leon was going to pull off for a second. The other man came through, went, oh, I'll go in for a second because they're shooting me already. Got a huge connection, a huge drive. And a big repick coming through here from Rogue. They've got an alternate strategy, a bit of a juggle of operators. Deepek's on the roll of the Flores, Rips on that flank watch now instead. But can they get themselves back into the lead? They've done what a lot of teams have found impossible. Stop a team coming back from nothing and winning the map.
Very, very true, but can they stop them winning the map? That is yet to be seen. Rogue get 1 round, but they're going to need 3 more if they want to take this one in regulation, if they want those maximum points to keep them fighting in the league table. Crying dumping the drone into square. Skylight Rips just hovering around waiting for Kanto to clear out that hatch. Will apply the air jabs. This is pretty stock standard setup as we would expect for Rogue to get themselves into that top floor and start clearing out. Not attacking onto the top floor, of course, but wanting that vertical superiority. Mowgli, he's not going to overstay his welcome there. Drone's just pinging his location out. He's dipped away, but he hasn't gone down the white stairs. He's actually going to keep himself inside a cocktail, and now chooses that it's the time to leave.
Big angles held down towards here. Rogue, they're trying to shepherd and slowly push LFO back down towards the lower floors. They're doing it slow and steadily. They know that LFO can be sharp. They know they can be aggressive. and they know they've got to be cautious. There is Mowgli. He's just almost caught out by the drone there. He's going to hit the kitchen hatch with a pre-fire, not going to go for the rotation, which is wise because, well, Rogue could set themselves up to catch if he had gone for that, and there's still a whole floor worth of sight for them to get through. It's been very good at wasting time, and a pre-placed C4, as pointed out to us by our wonderful observer medics, might be the one that gets the bite here. The cameras.
The Valkyrie camera is going to be taken out, so that will reduce the information and therefore the likelihood of that pre-placed nitro being used successfully. Once Rogue get themselves in there and start opening up, they'll have to judge it based on where the ceiling is being opened above them. For the time being, it's dining that's being opened up. We've got the Zephyr running in and around the machinery of mining, but is not going to be found out by any vertical explosives for the time being. Just looking on those vertical angles, trying to get anything going at the minute, clear out utility, maybe find a shot or two onto somebody, start damaging them. There is a Valk cam left that they haven't seen though, and that could be dangerous. It's going to give a lot of information as to where and when to peek if they choose to do so.
I mean, it's just it, isn't it? Once again, we're watching through the eyes of the man watching those that are trying to watch down. Cryan finds Mowgli. They're going to go for the drop right into the smoke and win the fight outright, drop themselves down all the way and tucked in for the plant, covered either side. And now behind the chassis, the player in VIP can't do much, and neither can the one that just tried to scream through the door. Bibu bites back, but it's a post plant. Can't go get the connection on Coffee or the player, but they actually go down just on the quick corner now. Rise, recouping and rebalancing his way around. It's a 3 versus 2. And they still have the vertical control over the site, over the hatch. And that's the important part right now. And that's what Rise has gone to try and retake. Caught out, though, on the swing around Bibu. They know that they're above. There was a drone watching as well. It's a handful of seconds. Sprays for the fight towards the first. He's going to see if he can try and bait it out. No chance, no dice. Another round for Rogue, 5-4.
Here come Rogue. They are fighting their way back into it. They seem to have fallen asleep in the middle of the game there, but certainly waking up in the last couple of rounds and getting themselves back into the swing of things. 5-4 now and taking things into round 10. It's going to be a top floor defense this time out for LFO, and they find themselves in the position that Rogue were a couple of rounds ago, knowing that they need to put the brakes on here, but finding it difficult. And the thing is, they don't have that magical tactical timeout back in the pocket anymore. They only get to use one, so there's no opportunity for LFO here. They have to see this through to the end.
Okay, LFO, you've been able to pull yourself back from deficits before, but now you're getting dangerously close to, well, losing out on a potential point, and then maybe losing out on all of them. Here, Rogue, they've threaded 2 rounds. We're back to Bar, the site that was the start, and it was a camera that got all that intel. A camera they never quite found out by the end of it, and they'll know you're playing the Valkyrie, and maybe they'll be a little bit more aware of, wait a second, how do they know where we are at all seconds of the day?
Well, that is the answer. Those blackout cameras have been extremely valid. I mean, they always are. We know this, but...
I mean, you're a Valk.
Valk man.
You...
Val, I don't know if I'd go as far as...
You defined the game.
Well, you know. I don't like to say it myself.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we get Valk banned out a lot, and I think because teams maybe aren't... They're not on top of looking for them all the time. They're getting put in some tricky little spots, and they just seem to be surviving tonight. You know, we're seeing 2 out of 3 maybe taken out, but the one that's left, how much impact have we seen it have a couple of times now? So something that Rogue definitely need to be aware of. We're going to have a little explosion going off there. No damage done, and we will continue into this one. 40 seconds in. Rogue not really established inside of the map yet, looking to cut off any of those rotations in the white corridor, but they're going to head up the stairs in a second.
Yeah, they sort of realized that the pressure from the top of red, well, it just didn't work, did it? And they're going to see if they can try a little bit of an alternate here. Deepak droned up around on the core. Whether they knew there was a player loose here going for a fight before or not, they seem to have some attention paid towards reading. But Bibu fires first into the drone, and that gun doesn't have a lot of bullets. He's going to take the second engagement, but Shinka offers some modicum of support here. Bibu is still looking for the next engagement, but there it is. Shinka above, hunting for a man with a shotgun. It's Fish in a laundry room. And he's able to escape, not entirely clean. Kanto, he's looking for a route out here, and they're trying to find a way just to lock him out on the door. There's more support coming through all the way. Kanto needs it as well. It's a little bit of a bloodbath on the mid-floor right here, but it's also attention that can be paid towards the site itself. Shinka has to pay attention to the swing, and Rise is able to find Cry, and it's going to come through over the second story here, and Kanto is still a little bit locked in, opens himself a rotate. Bibu is on a sliver of health. It just takes a spray through, but look at P4.
It's looking positive for us at the minute to potentially see the whole 12 regulation here, which is pretty much what we expected from these two teams matching up. We knew there was going to be very little to separate them. As you say, LFO, a number of them on low health at the minute. Rip's able to rip the head off Rise, but not before Bibu finds Kanto. Leon, however, spraying down Shinka and Rogue keep themselves fighting here. Leon, Rip's still got a lot of work ahead of them. 45 seconds in order to do it. They do have Diffuser in hand, but they're going to need extra kills before they can think about potentially planting. We're going to have some of that Capital utility. It's going to be an asphyxiation arrow that gets the kill onto Bibu, but P4 is still in his position there. Mowgli's down. P4 is going to get himself a freebie. Tries for the discipline. Doesn't know if the second one is coming in, but Rips, he knows he's in freezing now. Can he win the fight? No, P4 coming in with a critical clutch at the end.
Oh, P4 was always this player that can do it, and we've seen him at once or twice carry this team on his back, and you can see him instantly there with a bit of a conversation. He is talking to the team, and you know, once upon a time I said it takes those old heads to settle the score, and sometimes it takes the young bucks to try and bring it back up, get that energy, get that movement back in, and wow, 5-5. We're starting a little bit of a do-si-do. Reading room is where we're going to head to next. It's also worth remembering Bar is the only sort of site that we've seen them actually take on their defense. They've got to now see if they can stretch that to another one. And to be fair, when we were here before, it started well.
It did. And the thing is, this is now sort of make or break time for LFO, isn't it? You know, it was 3-all in the first half. Rogue were able to secure 3 successful defences. If LFO want to take this to overtime, they need to at least match that by getting another one. Now, if they want the win, they've got to better it. And that's what they're going to be looking for. They want the full 3 points, obviously. They're going to be taking reading room this time around. Of course, we saw Rogue defend this early on in the game, and very successfully so when Cryin was left alone on that top floor. I'm sure that's not a mistake that Rogue are going to make. So LFO, they need to hold on to Cocktail for their life, really.
I think that's it, is, you know, it's that sort of area, that lock-in, that was something that was punished a little bit before. Deepak and Leon are making a quick approach towards the top floor to see if they can, I guess, try and get themselves acquainted with the damage that can be done here before. Obviously, when I said LFO got off to a good lead, it was a double run-out that netted 2 kills. 1 death. So a 5 versus 4 isn't the worst thing, but it's not a great start because it throws any plan Rogue had out the window pretty instantly. It means they've got to come up with a plan B, which worked. And here they're able to get themselves at least a new approach. The IQ, kind of happy to see it with what Valk's been doing.
Yeah, I think we don't really see a lot of IQ. There was a point in time, probably about 12 months ago, where we were seeing an absolute ton of IQ, and it was to deal with things like the black eye cameras. But as we've seen the ban rate of Valkyrie go up, we've seen the pick rate of IQ come down, and just haven't had anywhere near as much of it, but being brought along here in response to a specific problem. Just pinging out all those other gadgets as well, and out go the nades, looking to clear out Pixel Corner. Kanto, Cryin stacking up, and these two teams battling hard at the minute, neither wanting to give up any ground to the other. They're looking for the opportunity to be able to close this one out in regulation. Only one of them will get the chance, and right now LFO are hanging on.
Well, that's it. They've been able to put themselves a little bit of distance here. They're eyeing up the pressure onto the back of White, and there's a ping on a Valkyrie cam. Finally, they're going to be able to ensure a little bit more safety on this approach. Rise caught by Deepak. That grenade is just going to catch Kanto, or catch Mowgli even from the hand of Kanto. Can they put the pressure onto this final player on the back of Lumber? He's doing his best to hold in above the site. He's going to be revealed by that bulletproof, but he's not going to swing on it. Here's a watch. Here's a take, and here's P4. No, thinking better of that.
Just dipping out of that fight, thinking we're already 3v5. I'm not going to make that situation any worse. Rogue have almost got top floor control as soon as this man dips away on the hatch. Bibu's going to hold it for as long as possible, see if he can take himself a little freebie with him, hit him on the fadeaway, but the chance is likely not to come. P4, Shinka inside of sight, being chased around. Shinka taking damage. Bibu does manage to step out and get a kill. Shinka on the nitro as well, Cryin with the immediate trade onto Bibu, and a couple of quick kills from Leon and Kanto put Rogue onto map point.
Well, they've doubled it down on reading. They've definitely made sure they had a little bit more to that attack because, well, they won it before, but that time they won it in their fashion. Where do you go, LFO? And that's a question that they're taking a little bit of time here to answer. They're going to double it down here on reading, make it the triple, and see if the third time is the charm. It is the magic number. And, well, they've got to see if it can be the magic one to take us to maybe our first OT of the night.
Who knows where we could end up. At the minute, you do feel like Rogue are the more likely to win this, not based on the score. I know they're the only ones who can do. Please don't get me in the Twitch chat. I realise that. What I'm saying is, if either of these teams hit 6, it just feels like Rogue have got the momentum. They're hitting shots. They're the ones going in and getting a double kill, getting a triple kill, and getting themselves that advantage. The rounds that LFO win, it's more like they hold on. So if they'd been the ones to get them onto 6, you feel like Rogue could maybe bounce them back and get them into overtime. Rogue just seemed to be in the driving seat a little bit for me.
Hey, Deepak, what are you doing?
What is he doing?
I mean, we'll see if this connects. We've seen Amaru plays.
I'd love to see it.
Before, we've seen these quick strikes before. We've seen sneaky plants up. Kitchen hatch is one route of taking it. We've seen it as direct drives up to the top floor as another way of doing it. You've pulled off the IQ, but thankfully Rips has picked it up. I still think that is probably one of the smartest decisions, but we're omnipotent. We see what was struggling.
We certainly do. We've got the advantage of the top-down and all the extra information that comes with it. We've got the Amaru up on the rooftop, and at the minute, Deepak not using the Gara hook at all, so not putting that gadget to any use. Sometimes you'll see it zipped up onto the roof, if not even through a window. Just get up onto the roof nice and quick and start doing that work, but he didn't. He chose to repel instead, and for the time being, we're not going to see any use of it. He's going to head down the front of the building, though, and may take the opportunity to zip himself up and in through, I'm thinking, cocktail balcony window, maybe.
That's it. It's a little bit of a reconvening. He wants to try and strike onto the back line at the same time as the pressure that comes across the front. If he can be a burst of gunfire, it could be huge, but you cannot just go for it, or you probably shouldn't just go for it with at least some pressure and some noise being made elsewhere. They've got to do a little bit of work. So Deepak has to do a little bit of wait now as the rest of Rogue starts its approach on the opposite side. There's some concern. A little bit of a side drift there, just taking out the camera over the top, and now as the rest of the bodies pile in, some steady work, but look at the body that's underneath inside train.
Could be a pivotal position if it can be held. Leon just searching for anybody playing underneath pillars, and this is very tentative so far. Neither team wanting to lose this, but the question is, does one of them want to win it? P4 looking to step out, and we've still got that threat of the Amaru. Deepak just waiting for his moment. He's waiting for the call, but as you said, he needs noise. He needs this. He's going to go in. He's going to look to find somebody in cocktail. Shots come into him from pillar. Rise manages to find Crying, and that's going to be a big opener. That's the shutdown. Kanto manages to get one in between onto Mowgli, but 4 versus 3. LFO now starting to edge this round away from Rogue.
Very well responded to there by LFO. A little bit of a mistimer there between the two, but it's Leon that bites back and is able to keep himself ready for the next engagement. He's keeping the fire hot. He's going for the push. He's been able to take some of this pressure. They have verticality. They also only have about 30 seconds left. The drone rolls its way out to pillars. There's still a lot of locked doors on the site itself. They're seeing if they can get an eye or an angle towards that close corner plant there on that Christmas doorway, but it's otherwise not been revealed for now. LFO, they're retexturing, resurfacing, and maybe restructuring here. Shinka's knocking now on the door with a little bit more width to it. Kanto's still trying to hunt for the players below. 10 seconds as they go for the drop. Finally, there's a ping and some pressure. They don't quite get it out. Shinka is able to strike one, give themselves the body balance. Kanto goes down. Rips is all that's left standing, but without a kit and without anything else towards the site. It's an LFO round, and it's an OT.
We're going all the way in this one. We really are. We knew it was coming. It had to happen at some point, and it had to be the last game of the day. This was always going to be the closest. 6-0 we found ourselves, and it's going to be the best of 3 rounds. Just 3 to go, Em. No more than that. That's the I can guarantee you that.
It's what you want at a best of 5, right? At the end of a best of 5.
You want to finish it on overtime.
You want to finish it on... Let's see. All right. Now that I've heard the quote, I've got... It's got you know, you get like those like siege calendar.
Bucket list moments.
A bucket list moment.
That's bigging myself up a bit, is that?
It's my bucket list. I'm allowed to put on it what I like. I have a calendar, and my siege calendar for the month of A, it's Ace, not the month of A. For the month of U, it's got that quote on it.
We're going all the way to
Going all the way.
Oh, there you go.
In a fireman's outfit.
You got to live it. You got to live it. And we'll see who's going to live the win here. LFO are on the defence. There's no advantage to be gained, really. Both halves have been 3-3, so neither team taking a massive advantage out of either side. Bar and Cocktail will be the defensive side. If we have a quick look back, LFO defended this in round 10 and in round 7, and they won it both times, so that's not going to be an ideal start for Rogue.
Only twice the kit's gone down throughout this showdown so far, and one of the two it was diffused. It's really been a game that's ended up with two great teams of gunners going at each other. They've both sort of been trying to find a structure, but they know how to respond to each other. And it's kind of that game, it's kind of that face that's developed over the past 12 rounds, and there's only 3 potential more for us to see, maybe less, if someone can try and thread it. And we haven't seen a couple of threaded rounds in a while. Rogue, they're starting on their attack. They have some pace and they've lost this site twice. It might offer LFO some confidence, which is why they've actually adapted themselves. They've changed up their hold a little bit. P4 is much closer. They have the player on the hatch ready to drop, hoping that there's a quick play and pace towards Cigar, but they'll have the read that that hatch is open.
They certainly will. The Twitch drone going underneath is going to feed that information back in. Raj just dropping away, supported by P4 inside of there for the time being. So LFO stacking Piano quite heavily at the minute and not wanting to let go of it. We've actually got the Aruni underneath as well. That's going to be Bibu playing in and around the reading room for the time being, but also being droned out. Rogue doing a good job of gathering thorough information, but 4 drones left, a couple for DPEC potentially, so a maximum of 6. It's not looking great for them. They're obviously making the most of what they've got, but they don't have as many as they might like.
Well, an upside down repel, and they've definitely got something they like there. Rise taken out of consideration quite early on. The Kaid, you assume, has already done his work, but still, to go down that early in that sort of position isn't something that they've kind of had happen to them at all on these holds and these takes before. Again, just a little missed moment is something that Rogue can respond to. LFO know this because they respond to it in pretty much exactly the same way. Now, Rogue, what can you do with it? There's the player behind, the stacked up wood on the far side, and you've got a couple of smokes and ready to go for it. You're concerned of the loose chance of an LFO run out, though.
P4 just roaming underneath at the minute. Still got Nitro in hand. There's a ping. It's going to be an absolute freebie, but no! Look at that for timing. Rogue just able to scamper away. It was Cryin who was led potentially on top of that Nitro, and that tells them now that there's one underneath. If they can get a line onto White Stairs, they might just be able to hold P4 out of the rest of this round. That's exactly what they do. DPEC gets the kill. Cryin with the nade. It's all falling apart. Bibu goes down. It's 1v5. Mowgli, he finds one. We know he's got the talent. We know he's got the ability, but is the Star's going to align? Absolutely not. Cryin finds him from the washroom, and that's going to close it out for Rogue, and that puts them in the advantage and onto the defence.
Well, they finally find a way to take Bar from LFO, but now we have that curious question about Rogue, because their turn on defense was perfectly balanced, I guess, for them, as all things shouldn't be. They won all the sites that they played once, and they lost all of the sites that they played once. It was truly a tale of two halves in one of the two halves of this tale. But now they have the chance here to thread a second round together, reading room. That's where they're going to see if they can try and make it happen. It was their first pick before, and it was a very strong opener in some ways. It was clever plays from Cryin and a 2 versus 2 retake with a defuse on the planted kit, the one I talked about before. This was one of the only sites where it went down on, and it was returned.
Round number 14. Underway. An LFO Rogue with very little to separate them at the minute, but what is there to separate them is in the favour of Rogue. They're going to be defending reading, Cryin being the difference last time around. LFO, well, not necessarily last time around, but the successful defence, particularly that Rogue had of this site, was down to Cryin being able to defend from above and just being completely left out there by LFO in their clearance. They just didn't. They thought they could hold that position from Cigar Shot practically, and it just wasn't going to work for them. So they need to make sure that they get in there and clear him out this time.
Now, can LFO just push us all the way to the brink here? They're going for an approach, and they're going to see if they can try and pull together the style of play that got them their second take here on reading. It was a very good response. As I said, both these teams are pretty much superstars when it comes to learning what their opponents are doing and adapting within that approach. P4 playing that role of the IQ. Don't want to suffer against the cams the same way they punished them, but it wasn't really Rogue's game. Rogue's game was punishing the lack of drones and removing as many of them as early as possible. Here's the pre-placed, rolling their way out and seeing if they can try and get some of the control over what is going on. They have some support of the external runouts there as well, which has been a little bit of an on and off thing, but otherwise a lot of comfort here over the top floor for now.
Mowgli just going to be clearing out utility for the time being, and there's going to be no mistake in clearing Cocktail this time and leaving Crying alive as he's forced back down the hatch, and that is better adaptation from LFO, though, showing that they know that they need to be clearing out that east side fully so that they can look at the potential for a plant later in the round. Deepak using the Nitro, not going to get any joy, but Crying opens things up with one onto Mowgli, still hassling them from around the white stairs. Kanto's going to be shut down inside the washroom by Rise, 4v4, but they could still be an opportunity for Crying here as Bibu switches one window to the next. He may well miss the man if he tries to push himself up white again.
Now they lose Mowgli, they lose a huge gunner and a huge gun here. They have some pressure that they can apply from above, but there's still a little bit of concern because there's still a C4 on the board in the pocket of Rips. They're trying to hammer their way down, but also keep a lock on any rotations, and that pulls IQ out of the fight. That means P4, another great gunner, has to be more focused on, well, protecting the life, and at some point you have to try and realize that you've done your work on the top floor and crack your way down. Maybe they aren't going to swing their way around. Leon's happy, locked in on the door. Crying is down on the first floor, and Deepak's inside the site with the shotgun, which he has already many times in many games demonstrated he is pretty dang good with. Here they're waiting for LFO to try and make a move to get a response, and they're more than curious about multiple different angles.
Going to be a kill comes in for P4 onto Leon, and this is looking more and more like we might go the entire distance. Rogue trying to hold on. They've got one potentially going to drop the hatch here. Deepak's aware, finds his man, and that's the diffuser. That could be a pivotal moment. Bibu looking for the challenge on the white, but they overextend, and Rips is going to get taken down. Rise finds Deepak, and surely this one is done now, and we're going all the way to 15. Crying closed out. P4 gets the final kill, and we're going to see every single bit of this one.
Just ran out of bullets there, Crying on the swing round, but it still would have been a 2 versus 1 after that anyway. Little moments, little responses, a little back and forth here. It has been from what was a solid 3 to a solid 3 to a 2 to a 1 to a 1 to a 1. It just evolved, this game, and it was everything that I sort of wanted it. It's why I said it was going to be probably the hardest one to call out of all of them tonight. This is what these two teams do really, really well on their day, and you know, nobody is explicitly running away with it because they keep finding these little moments to bite back at each other. 2 points is up for grabs. Both of them have obviously already cemented one apiece, and we find ourselves still fighting around that precious 4th spot.
Kitchen is going to be our final showdown then. LFO take to the defence. They were unable to secure their first defence in overtime, which was Bar on the top floor. Rogue able to get that one away from them. Question is, can they do it again? LFO, they're going to be spreading out, I think, as the round goes on. There'll be 1 or 2 positioned upstairs. We've got bulletproof camera at the bottom of Brown Stairs. We've got a lot of focus towards VIP window, main door and Brown Stairs. They're obviously expecting some attention over on the freezer side. They're going to be playing a man inside of VIP as well. I'm not sure that there's been too much work on Bakery. They've reinforced it, but that is about that. They've got the rotation through so they can move somebody out, but I don't think there's too much of an expectation for pressure on that side.
Now, one of the things that they had before was that drive through the smoke canisters. There was a response from LFO when they realized the push was coming through, but Rogue kind of ignored it. They pushed on, they got a kill on the close on the door, they got a kill as they hopped over the little half wall out of the freezer and in towards that close plant corner there on Coffee, and they sort of just said, well, we know what you're going to try and do, and we're just going to push through it. And it worked. Suddenly it was this 4 versus 2. They had all the verticality. Then it was a 4 versus 1. And, well, then you're in a really tricky spot. Here they're starting with a very different approach. From the top down, they're going to see if they can try and force some of the play. They maybe expected LFO to go for a little bit more stretch and range here, and they want to see if they can cut them off, as they did, and get the early kills at the previous attack round they won.
Deepak just holding the angle here, takes a little pot shot through onto White Stairs, not going to find anybody. A minute into the round, we are still searching for a kill. Kantor moving in with Crying, looking for the top floor dominance. They're going to have it, and they're going to be able to start moving down towards the mid floor, but that's when they're going to meet a little bit more resistance. I think Mowgli on the Malusi is playing underneath there. He's in dining. He knows that the pressure's going to mount inside a piano. He hears the hatch getting opened up. What he doesn't hear is the shots coming in from Crying as he smartly moves down White Stairs and gets the shots through the soft wall. That's going to be the Malusi gone, and that's advantage Rogue.
There it is. C4s are being thrown up, but they have the drone revealing the ping saying, yeah, it's roughly about here. No, it's about here. Kanto, he's baiting it, or the best he can. Instead, just takes a smart move and shoots it out of the sky. Just over a minute left now, and Rogue have been able to get that early blow, but they've got to start focusing themselves down towards the site. There's still a C4 in the pocket of P4. There's always going to be that danger when you're on the soft floor with the Sledge and the Flores drones doing their best to try and clear as much as possible. There's a little bout of utility. They're eyeing up the same pocket of space before, but there is also the chassis on the other side for a little bit more structure.
Tero going for a real just drone around there, seeing what information could be found. No utility could be found to be taken down, and ultimately I think it runs out of time there. Kantor continues opening up the vertical angles, but LFO happy to drop themselves back into Bakery now, and that extension out there is giving them the freedom to do so. And Aid's going to go in to clear a little bit of utility in there, and this is going to be very soon a potential plant attempt.
Well, there's the difference here. P4, he's on a new position. Rise is trying to, but Deepak has the cover. Rise on the back stairs, can't win it out. Rips, gets one more. Leon's going to see if he can try and stick it in. Crying is keeping pace with the huge kill work done before. Bibu is dropped. Deepak ends the flawless here. A huge performance from the new boy from the Benelux, who's been biting at C1 for the longest time. Rogue, a hard-fought victory for sure, 8-7.
Well played from Rogue. They really had to fight their way back into